know that some creatures on Earth are actually immortal? One example is a type of tiny jellyfish. They're able to affect the development of their cells if they're sick or damaged or old. They basically shrink back into their polyp stage and respawn. Imagine if humans could learn how to regenerate our bodies to a younger age. Imagine respawning 1,000 years from now.
Welcome to the Alcor Life Extension Foundation here in Scottsdale, Arizona, in the United States. Alcor is almost 50 years in operation, the longest lived cryonics organization. And what we do here is essentially give people another chance at life. Today, when people are declared clinically dead and legally dead, it's kind of an arbitrary line that basically means that today's medicine can't help them any further. Our idea is that today we can bring people back to life from conditions that we couldn't have done, say, 50 years ago, and in the future we'll be able to repair problems that today we can't repair. So the idea of cryonics essentially is at the point of legal death, which is not the same as biological death, let's preserve the person, keep them from deteriorating as perfectly as possible, and then take them into the future one day at a time until we have more advanced technology that can fix their heart disease, their cancer, and the aging process itself, and allow them to continue on living again. This is Alcor's operating room. Although before we get to that stage, I want to explain what we do here. Cryonics really has three main parts. We have what we call standby stabilization and transport, which we're going to illustrate here. Then we have the cryoprotective perfusion, which happens in the operating room. And then we have long-term storage, which we'll get to. We can't begin the next process, the surgical procedure, until the patient's cooled down to no more than about 20 degrees C. We're going to remove as much blood and intracellular fluid as we can from the patient and replace it with a cryoprotectant solution. Now, cryoprotectant you can think of simply as a medical-grade antifreeze. But about half our members, myself included, have chosen just to preserve the brain. And you might think, well, why would you just preserve the brain? Don't you need a body? Well, you do, but you don't need it today, because my view is that by the time I need this, unless I get killed early on, my body's going to be in pretty bad shape in a few decades, so the whole thing's going to have to be regenerated anyway. The one thing you can't replace is up here. That's your brain. We may start over here, but then we're going to do a separation, a few vertebrae down. We want to get the top of the spinal cord in there. We're going to take the cephalon, which is what we call the brain plus the skull. We're going to put that upside down in the neuro ring here, secure it in this ring. And then instead of going in through the blood vessels in the heart, we're instead going to use the carotid blood vessels here. Otherwise, it's the same procedure. It's going to circulate through the system over here, again replacing the blood in the brain and the other fluids with our cryoprotectant solution. Here in Alcor's patient care bay, we have all 185 human patients and around 88 pets. Let's go take a look. Now, these vessels that you see are what contain our patients. These are called dewars, D-E-W-A-R. They're cryogenic dewars. These are very much like thermos flasks. If you've ever used a thermos flask to keep your coffee hot or a drink cold, you know how these work. They have a vacuum layer on the inside. So here I can put my hand on it. It's just kind of chilly metal. But inside it's extremely cold. It's minus 320 Fahrenheit or minus 196 degrees Celsius, so very, very cold. This is a model of contain 4 whole body patients. So there's 1 patient in each of these pods. That's just for mechanical protection, so if there's any reason why they get banged around, they're protected. And we use these hooks to, we have a winch in the roof there, we just lift it up and put them down in here. So they'll be with 3 other people, so we have 4 whole body patients. Plus we can get actually in the center column several neuro patients, or we may have pets up in the top column. So 4 whole body patients and 5 neuro patients. Or we can convert one of these containers to actually store 10 neuro patients by putting in shelves here. So you could potentially get 45 neuro patients in one of these. So this is what we've used for a long time. But now we have a new model, which is this one, the Super Duo. So now we can get about 11 whole body patients inside the same floor space. So, it's between a half and a third of the cost for liquid nitrogen, for rental space, and so on. So that's really helped to keep down on long-term costs. Especially if you're a whole body member, quite a bit of the money that you pay for that, out of the $200,000 minimum, we put $115,000 aside for long-term storage. So after we've done all the procedures, all the transport, the protection, the surgery, after all that, we have more than half of the money left, put in a special protected trust fund that can't be used for any other purpose, and that maintains people in these for as long as it takes. And as you mentioned, the person we have the longest was cryopreserved in 1967, and we still have him. So we haven't lost a patient yet. One thing that many people fear about the future is it's going to be some horrible place, because that's what we read about, we see in science fiction movies. And that's something I have to combat constantly, because I like to argue things are actually getting better. Despite what the news tells you, the news will look throughout the world for the worst things going on everywhere and push them right in your face, and people think, oh, things are really going downhill. But they're not. So at Alcor, we spend a lot of time thinking about what could go wrong and how can we prevent that being a problem. And to us, it's a very personal question, because this isn't just an organization that sells a service. We're a non-profit, tax-exempt organization. The founders created this for themselves. They didn't want to be buried or cremated. Those are not very appealing. What your body gives out, do you want to be burned to crisp? Do you want to be eaten by worms and bacteria? No, thank you. None of those are very appealing. Why not be cryopreserved? At least have the chance of coming back in the future and continuing your life.
The Bureau of Land Management Las Cruces District implemented fire restrictions on Monday to reduce the risk of human-caused wildfire on public lands in Doñana, Otero, Luna, Sierra, Grant, and Hidalgo counties. According to the Las Cruces Sun-News, restricted acts include building campfires, smoking, and setting off fireworks on BLM-managed land. The restrictions will remain in effect until further notice. According to the Las Cruces Sun-News,
Alice! Here you go. Thanks. Sit over here. There you go. Oh, I'll bring you some milk. Mom and Dad really inspired me in the sense where I think that's kind of where a lot of my brain wiring comes from, as far as having an interest in math and science. And then when I graduated from Berkeley, Mom and Dad gave me a Apple IIci computer, and the only thing we could really do on the internet, because there was no World Wide Web yet, was go on news groups. But the only ones I was interested in, strangely, to my surprise, was anything to do with physics, not so much math, because I didn't understand math, but anything to do with technology, futurism, transhumanism, even cryonics, which is freezing humans. And at the time, it was like I had this grand epiphany, like all at once, and I thought, the reason we need to freeze ourselves is if we go into deep space and we need to get to the next star, we're gonna need to either have generations go by the time we get there, or learn how to freeze humans. So I kind of tried to instill that same excitement of brain wiring into my daughter. It's right there, almost done.
Eventually, I believe things will not only get better, but will become exciting beyond our wildest dreams. We will break out of Earth's gravity well and inhabit space as an extension of our birth planet. We will accept the wondrous notion that we are our brains, and thus become more comfortable in our skin. In all ways, we will align ourselves with nature in our quest. I am just feeling very impatient. We are at an awkward and unsettling stage in our history. We must take baby steps to fit in with nature as our ancient selves did. But now as mentally winged creatures, we do it with a sense of the bigger picture, a deep understanding of the natural world through chaos theory and technology that aligns. We are runners of machines.
The first question is, really, we think about cells having a natural lifespan. You know, they call it the Hayflick limit. And this is because telomeres, which are the caps of these chromosomes, get shorter and shorter and shorter and leave the DNA vulnerable. And what you discovered was that this is a reversible process. Now, what's really interesting is you're not talking about living forever. You're really talking about reaching an old age that is a healthy old age, free from the diseases of old age as late as you possibly can.
So I'm Judith Campisi, and I'm here at the Buck Institute in Northern California. And this institute the whole institute works on aging. We work on diseases of aging, but also basic processes that seem to be important for aging. So there are lots of claims, usually by companies, that claim if you do this or you do that, you're going to live for a long time. And long is something that can be 500 years or thousands of years. I mean, some of the claims are just outrageous. Absolutely zero evidence. We can't even get a mouse to live 5 years instead of 3 years, much less a human to live hundreds of years. No one has come across any way to take a complex species like a mouse or a human and make it really live substantially longer. It can be done with simple organisms like the little worms, C. elegans, but it really cannot be done in complicated organisms like mice or people. So Hayflick was the first to describe this process called cellular senescence. And he established that normal human cells do not divide indefinitely, and when they stop, they basically are irreversibly arrested from ever proliferating again. So he thought this might have something to do with aging. You know, if you cut yourself, you don't heal as fast. It's because the cells don't divide as quickly. We've been looking at a different aspect of those non-dividing senescent cells, and that is that they're making molecules that can go throughout the body, but also can affect the nearest neighbors in a tissue. And those molecules create a situation which is called chronic inflammation. And I think most physicians and most gerontologists would agree, chronic inflammation is at the heart of almost every age-related disease that you can think of. When we make a mouse where we can get rid of these cells, and that mouse then has an average lifespan that is substantially longer, but still the maximum lifespan of that mouse is the same. The mouse still dies, and it dies pretty much on schedule. So what does it die of? It turns out it dies of the many things that mice die of normally, but it's all compressed so that they don't spend the last 6 months of their lives being ill, but just a few weeks, and then they die. And I think that's maybe one of the realistic goals of modern aging research, is to improve health to the point where you will die, for sure, but you die, as I said, on this tennis court, and you're winning, and then boom, 110 years old and you're dead.
I'm 86, so it opens the question of, do I want to live another 10 or 15 years without being able to get up and walk across the room? I don't know the answer to that. I probably don't want another 100 years of being as helpless as I am. If I were to join the cryonics crowd in my current condition, I would not be happy because my brain doesn't work so well. I'm not the same person I used to be. I would like to see the future. But what did you have to give up for that? So I'm talking about longevity and in the world like we know it now. With curiosity would be the driver that would make me want to stay around forever.
And more evacuation orders are being issued as a massive wildfire continues to burn in northern New Mexico. This comes after everyone in the town of Mora was ordered to evacuate on Sunday. Officials warn hundreds of homes are being threatened by the fire.
I know you've heard a number of prominent voices on certain media outlets that have mocked the connection that experts such as yourself have made between these extreme weather events and climate change. So for those that are still skeptical about the effects of climate change, what's your message? How do we know that these fires and hurricanes are a result of a warming planet?
How's your pumpkin coming, honey?
Good.
Ooh, spooky.
Yeah.
I'm so excited that I found this alien spaceship pumpkin.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure people breed these to look like this.
To look like alien spaceships.
I just need to put lights going around it. I don't know if blue looks right, but we'll see. So I feel like in the future we're gonna think more like the type of aliens that are on task doing things. We're gonna look like them because if we're in zero gravity, we'll have less bone density
We would probably look like a completely different species.
because there's less gravity. So they might be taller and skinnier. They won't need strong bones. But then when they get here, they'll be in a wheelchair.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that's like a different kind of evolution where it just happens all of a sudden. You go to Mars, the very next generation, the kids are like super tall, like string beans.
Oh my goodness. I wouldn't want to be that tall, to be honest. It's kind of like, first of all, to build a house. This house already has a lot of bricks. We would need like twice as many if we were that tall. Yeah. I mean, technically, to other aliens, we kind of are aliens.
Well, that's true.
But yeah, I see
Or
that.
are we their little experiment? I can't wait to find out.
Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1, cheese.
Macaroni. I mean, if we're saying cheese, then why not just say macaroni and cheese? Macaroni and
Space woman, I'm sorry. Well, that happens. How are you? Nice mask.
oh my god!
Which witches? Okay.
It's a witch. It's just a witch. Which witch is which?
I
Which
know.
is a witch?
No.
It's a witch that's a witch, but not a sword. It's a witch costume.
Yeah. Mr. Church.
There's two witches. Yeah.
Afraid isn't really the right word. It's more, I just don't like the idea of dying. It's not that I'm afraid of dying. I mean, maybe I would, I don't know. I don't think of it as that, as afraid. I think of it as I just don't like the idea that things are gonna end. It's not that, I mean, I am motivated partly because I know that I'm gonna at least, most likely perish at some point. But in my mind, of course, I'm thinking of it as I'm being paused. As Max Moore puts it, I will be in need of help and I want to be preserved. So I go through life with that mindset. So let me try to think, what would it be like if I still truly thought death was it and there was nothing else, no possibility? Yeah, that's depressing. I just find it depressing. And I feel like even if it's impossible somehow to be immortal, and first of all, immortal doesn't mean indestructible. You could still be squished. There may not be, any good way to save you. Even jellyfish would get squished. They're not immortal anymore. So that just means that they won't die of aging. I feel like even if it's impossible to ever make people immortal, that why not strive for that and strive for longer lifespans? And of course, there's this kind of mentality where if you can live as long as possible, then hopefully at some point before you perish, someone will find out some better way of living even longer. And so then Alcor becomes plan B. But I guess to me, I would just turn the question back around and say, why would someone be happier with the thought of dying than the thought of not dying? And I personally can't understand that. I don't know why anyone wouldn't want to just keep living. Because even when things get completely depressing, I've had PTSD twice. I've had really terrible times in my life. But eventually you get through it. And then there's just more to life and there's more possibilities. I can't imagine being just comfortable with the thought of dying and that's it. Can't imagine. We should get you signed up for Alcor when we're there. Because they're changing it to where it's age-based. So if you can lock in at a 9-year-old rate, I mean, it's a trade-off because you'll be paying, well, I'll be paying more years, but it'll be a cheaper rate. So, or at least we should get your dad to sign up.
I don't wanna be cremated, I'd rather be reinstated with you. If you're looking for assurance, Rudy can provide insurance too. Oh yeah, why can't I do the two? Let's make a toast with gin and tonics to our revival with cryonics. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Please freeze me, oh yeah, and I'll freeze you. Oh yeah, and I'll freeze you. Oh yeah, and I'll freeze you. All right, thank you, I really liked it. It's got potential.
Welcome to Alcor's 50th anniversary conference. First one in 7 years. Can you believe it's been that long? We were going to do one a couple of years ago, but this little pandemic came creeping along and kind of screwed up the plans for that. I'm very glad that you all came here. I was actually expecting maybe 50 or 80 people. We ended up with almost 200, which I think is probably a record for us. So don't let people get comfortable. When you talk to people and they say, oh yeah, it's fine, you know, life extension is going to come along and save me. Well, are you really sure about that? Maybe you should put on your seatbelt, get your emergency fund, get your Cryonics arrangements in place, and then you can relax a little bit. There's still things you can do to improve your chances, but then you've got things in place, then you can start experimenting with this stuff. But for goodness sake, put plan A in place, and for many of us, plan A, of course, means plan alcohol. Thank you.
The very first speaker, he didn't want to be, he wasn't sure if he wanted to be cryogenically preserved because he was afraid that in the future he would be left behind. He would have a gap in his knowledge. So all, like say 100 years or 500 years went by and then he didn't have that knowledge and he'd be revived without that knowledge. He was afraid of that. But I mean, I wouldn't be afraid of that because I already know when I'm revived, I'm gonna be a big dummy. Like I'm already, you know, I'm in my 50s. I already feel like a big dummy, like the young kids. My 9-year-old daughter already outsmarts me. So I'm already left behind in a sense, even currently living. Yeah, so I didn't really agree with that reason to not do it. I don't think anyone should be afraid of being cryogenically preserved because they're afraid of being a dummy in the future. So I got this bag. Look at the amazing logo. I mean, how cool is that? I don't know what's in here. There's some goodies, I guess. I hope there's a little toy brain that I can put on my shelf. No, brains don't come in this shape. Let's see. My brain will be in one of these dewars. My head will be on a rack inside one of these dewars, so that's fun. This is like almost more fun than having a little toy brain. This will be good for your lens.
Is it the personality that matters? Is it the computer program your brain is running that matters? Is it the closest continuum that matters? The weird thing is, you might think this is a very abstruse philosophical debate. I do think that once we actually find ourselves in the future, in this technological future, with all these options confronting us, upload or not, cryopreserve or upload, this kind of uploading or that kind of uploading, in line with all these technologies, the notion of death is just going to split multiple ways.
So considering that the brain is a dynamical system, and then it's a gazillion attractors and moving parts. I never hear people talking about this, but when we're frozen, obviously we're frozen into a state. How confident are you that freezing a dynamical system will remember which way it was going?
Yeah, you might lose the structure. I think at the very least you would certainly lose like what you were thinking at that moment. It's hopeless to have the idea that it's actually going to get my current state of thought and experience. But I think you might raise this worry that somehow it's not just my current state of thought and experience. At all moments, for the last years, my brain is in a certain trajectory, and maybe that dynamic trajectory is part of what makes me me. What do you think? Will you be uploaded? Would you allow your brain neurons to be replaced by silicon chips which fire better and make you smarter? No, you want your original brain. Do you know the idea of like beaming up? So we'll destroy your body here, but we will create a new version of it, like back in Las Cruces, right? It's a bit like 3D printing. Have you come across this?
Yes.
Yeah. You print, there's like you 3D print a copy of you.
Yeah, so they
on
can,
the other side.
they can 3D print a copy of you back in Las Cruces, and it would save you the 5.5-hour trip of boredom. Would you do it? Even if you know that might not really be you, it'll just be a new you that thinks they're you.
Exactly. That's why I'm not doing it.
I don't know
You're
if
not
I'd
doing
take
it.
the chance.
You're worried that you might die.
I don't
I've
want
always been
to
a
be.
skeptic of that.
I don't want to be reborn in the future and not be alive. It's just like some new version. Like they're still the exact same person. Like everything is the same, except it's not me actually doing things, seeing things. It's someone else. So I'm still dead.
It's David Chalmers and Aubrey de Grey. So here we have the doers. You can't see it because it's closed. But it's got bulletproof glass.
In case there's any shenanigans.
Tell me when you're done, I'll turn on the lights. All right, anybody got more pictures? We ready? All right. The super doer, you see Ray in the back there, that's shaped differently than the others. Instead of holding 4 whole bodies, we can put up to 11 whole bodies in those doers. We have one that's in use right now. I believe we have 8 patients in our original doers, and we have orders to, I think for one more super doer that's on order. It takes approximately 6 months to make one of these things. I know it's strange that Alcor is located in the desert, but they did that for several reasons. One, Arizona is very geologically stable. We don't get earthquakes. We also don't get hurricanes or tornadoes. And another reason is we have 7 liquid nitrogen manufacturers in the valley. Liquid nitrogen is actually a very cheap product. It's 19 cents a liter. It's a byproduct of another process. So that allows us to, that's the reason we have them submerged in liquid nitrogen, and that's kept them at the temperature.
How do you know you're not in the Matrix? You're not living in this giant computer simulation. How do you know about the external world? Then, of course, the question arises, how do we know we're not in one of those? I take seriously the possibility that the world we live in is, in fact, a simulation. Simulation technology is getting better all the time.
Well, actually, there are two different kinds of simulation technology.
Wouldn't that be weird if you also do that, which I hope you do, but I'll let you wait till you're 18 and you figure it out. Then, what if they revived all of us at the same time? Would that be cool or would that be super cringy?
I don't know.
Okay, so here's the thing. Plants on Earth survive because they're used to 24-hour day-night cycle. 12 hours day, 12 hours night, that makes 24 hour.
Yeah.
And all, like on the moon, it's 24 hours light and then 24 hours dark. So our Earth plants wouldn't know what to do. They would die because of the light. You'd have to put artificial light.
I thought you meant Mars was 12 hours, 24 hours day, 24 hours night.
Oh, no. Okay, Mars is the same as Earth. It's just plus an extra 40 minutes.
Oh, yeah, people should notice that.
Yeah, it's a huge deal. Mainly because, not mainly because we would get extra time to laze around in the morning, but mainly because the plants would grow.
And because we'd be more used to it, you know.
Yeah, we'd be more used to it.
Because I'm pretty sure from how we've kind of descended, I'm pretty sure our brains are automatically kind of, like, know, like, how long to sleep. Not exactly, but, like, kind of when. And an estimate, like, not estimate, but, like, kind of around, you know? It kind of knows.
Last time it wore wet and I carved out a mermaid tail, remember?
Oh, yeah, I saw that in, like, the pictures, Lila.
But now it's, like, too sandy.
Can you cover up right there? I don't want to do it because if I move my arms up, then the shirt comes up and then it gets sand in my shirt.
And right there. Wait, I gotta put this over here. Okay. Let's go to the top of the hill.
Yeah.
Well, it looks pretty.
It does.
Finally, the moon came up. Finally. Ooh, we can howl at the moon.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
And you know, I'm pretty sure it looks that big because it's close to the horizon.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, hon, I think it's time to get some sleep for school. Last week of school.
My name is Leonard Hayflick. I'm professor of anatomy at the University of California in San Francisco. It is a lovely day here in a redwood forest in Northern California. This is a forest of second growth redwood trees. The belief that they are many centuries or millennia old is actually a myth. If you argue that the trees have been standing in the same spot for that many years, that is correct. But the oldest living cells in a redwood tree or bristlecone pine, which is just as old or even older, the living cells are no more than 30 years of age. They are found in the root hairs or in the needles, so that the age of these old trees is the age of dead tissue. It is illogical to argue that the trees are the oldest living things if the living part of the tree is, as has been determined actually, to be no older than about 33 to 35 years. As we have misconceptions about the age of redwood trees, we also have misconceptions about the biology of ourselves in respect to aging. The misconception is the failure to distinguish between the aging process, which is a destructive process or a process where function is lost, as opposed to longevity determination, which is a process that keeps you alive. Those processes within your body that keep you alive today can be manipulated, but what cannot be manipulated is the underlying process of aging. For example, you can keep yourself living longer if you pay attention to the common sense rules that we all know about in respect to exercise, to maintaining your health, to a proper diet. All of these mechanisms, these means of survival, have as their end result increasing your longevity. Underlying that system or phenomenon is the phenomenon of aging, which is a process that has its origins in molecules or atoms even. And that process is governed not by biological laws, but by laws of physics. And the physical law that is applicable is the second law of thermodynamics. That is that energy tends to dissipate or spread out from a source. And the source of energy in biological molecules are, for the most part, the chemical bonds that hold these complex molecules, for example, like proteins, together. Those bonds weaken over time, and the molecule becomes dysfunctional, so that the aging process then begins. The major concern that many people in this field have is the failure to distinguish between those two processes, and also the belief that they can overcome a physical law by learning how to eliminate the aging process. That cannot be done. It is a law of physics that is just that, a law. I don't know whether you're interested in funny stories, but if you are, I'll tell you one. That has to do with the way in which one can distinguish between presenile dementia and senile dementia. Presenile dementia is when a gentleman leaves the lavatory and forgets to zip himself up. Senile dementia is when the gentleman enters the lavatory and forgets to zip his zipper down. Not funny. There's another one. There are 3 early signs of aging in humans. The first sign is the loss of short-term memory. And I don't remember the other 2.